The charts look bad. There is no sugarcoating this. But there are a lot of positives, so stick around and find out what's really going on with Pokemon. I'm Kakashi with Kanto Capital. So it took a little bit of time for us to finally have enough data and enough price action to update the market, see what's going on, and to analyze it. So what we're going to do today is we are going to look at the charts. I'm going to tell you what it means, reveal some of the hidden positives that I have found, and what I'm looking for next. I've had a decent amount of messages and comments, bearish comments in particular, asking or saying the bubble has popped or asking if the bubble has popped. And guys, this is where investing will test you. I have seen many people panicking, especially when the prices started to drop below 50% on the base set Charizard. Well, let me tell you guys that when you have investment experience, especially in volatile markets like Pokemon, you know that no two situations are the same. The prices have gone down since my last video, and where I was wrong was that I thought that most likely prices would probably consolidate, but instead they just kept dropping below the trend line. So a couple of very important things before we get into the meat of this video. I've seen a lot of people starting to piggyback off of the concept of tracking the base set unlimited PSA 9 Charizard. So a couple of very important things that I have to discuss. My first market analysis video, I had stated that the base set Charizard PSA 9 was a very good indicator of the market at that point in time. In my second video, so the second market analysis video, I had stated very clearly that the Charizard base set PSA 9 was no longer as good an indicator of the market, but it was okay to use. And you'll see why I had stated that as we go through everything today. It also helps if you watch those videos. If you haven't already, I definitely suggest watching them because it'll give you a little bit of a better background about what we're talking about today. Once again, because of the complexity of this discussion, there is no way that I can cover everything without making this a long 1 to 2 hour, maybe 3 hour video. There's no way I could cover everything about investing. But I'm going to try to condense this and make this as digestible as possible considering how short this is. Investing isn't an easy thing. I wish it were that easy because then we'd all be rich, everybody be happy, everything would be good. But what I'm going to do today is I will lace you up, and this will give you a big advantage whether it's in Pokemon or you're trying to invest in any market. So hang in with me here. We're going to piece things together as I show you what to watch out for. I can't really just go step 1, step 2, step 3, and then we're done and now we magically know exactly what's going to happen in the future. So I'm going to pop open the prior chart that I had showed you guys last month. I believe it was about a month ago. And now that includes the trend line that I had drawn last time. And now this is the new chart. So the first chart I went through, I think I said 600 plus transactions. Maybe it was 800. I don't remember at this point. This time I did another several hundred transactions, this time in both directions. So that way we can kind of track what happened a little bit more in the past as well as what just happened. But yeah, I just stopped counting how many transactions at this point. But make sure you leave a like and a sub if you guys appreciate the effort here. So what we'll see is that we did drop below the prior support line or the trend line that I had drawn last time. And this is actually very surprising for me. It's not surprising that we dipped below the trend line, but what I was hoping is that we would hold above that support, especially in that particular instance. But we ended up just dumping way below it, and now we're in a little bit of a murky situation once we drop below this trend line. So the next zone that I am watching, I'm going to highlight it on the screen so you guys can see it, but the next zone I'm watching is this area that's highlighted. Now, some people could argue that this zone is a very weak support, and I would agree with that. Much like our prices weren't at the peak for very long, we also weren't in this range for very long. And so I would consider this a very weak area of support. I don't have the numbers here, but it was about 1375 at the lows and 1750 at the high of this particular area. And we were only in this area for about 4 weeks, and this is where we're sitting around right now. And I consider this, again, a very weak zone of support. So I know this chart is looking really ugly right now, but I do have a positive chart that I do want you to see, and that is the volume chart. So what's really significant here is week 31, and what we'll see is in week 31 we have a huge uptick in transactional volume. And this is very important because in this particular zone what we see is a large pickup of buying and selling action happening here. So even though the candle is very small, we see a large pickup in volume. And this is big because this might be showing some price strength, and then we ended up seeing a follow through with that in this week thanks to that prior volume from the prior week in week 31. And so that's a huge positive. And so I would very much like to see the prices hold here and maybe have a small bounce up like we're starting to see. But right now I can't really see a major catalyst for that happening at this moment, except that people just see that as a buy opportunity. And some outside event can certainly happen. I just don't know what it would be at this point in time. So while I will be watching this area, the reality is that the most important range is $900 to $1,000, which is actually our prior resistance. And once again, I talked about this in my very first video. Of course, I know you guys have watched that, right? But that resistance is now going to act as our support. And this is a much more significant zone in my opinion, because we had held under this range, the $900 to $1,000 range, for about 4 months. And that's from what I have charted here. My original video, if you guys watched that, I didn't have as good or accurate data. This time, again, because I think it was a lot more important here, I did chart it out up to that point. So we can see that, again, we had a support / resistance zone in there for about 4 months. And so again, to me, this will be the must hold area in my opinion. So the big question, is this the end of the bull market? So make sure you pay attention here because there are some very good signs that I do see. I know this video sounds very bearish, but there are some major positives that you'll want to know. Now, I want to clearly state this again. Like I said in my second market analysis video, and in the beginning of this one, I said that the base set unlimited PSA 9 Charizard is not as indicative of the market. And you'll see that I have addressed this in each video, including this one. And I know very few guys make it this far. That's what makes you one of the special ones. So if you're here still paying attention, make sure you have a little bit of a secret code word. Throw a thanks Kakashi Sensei somewhere in there. Put your comment, whatever you want to say, add anything you want to say. But just throw in a thanks Kakashi Sensei. Let me know that you guys are still paying attention. But anyway, the reason I still use the base set Charizard now as an indicator is that it can give us some hints and somewhat of a potential warning signal. Because for example, if people lose confidence in base set, in particular, Charizard, one of the most important cards in the hobby, that can certainly cause some fear and panic for the rest of the market. And this is what happens in immature markets like Pokemon. Everyone always looks to the pillars. They look to the foundation that holds it up. Much like when base set went up in price and was making this big move up, everyone looks at base set and says, wow, that really moved. What's next? And then the market follows. So stay with me and you will get to the positive signs very soon. So here's the thing we have to pay attention with me using this card as an indicator. If your foundation shows cracks, it doesn't mean that your house is going to crumble, but you have to pay attention. You have to check your house and make sure that everything's working. So when I did a closer inspection, here's what I ended up finding. I see a lot of the Wizards of the Coast cards retracing, and of course they were some of the biggest movers in price during this bull market. And just like any cyclical market, prices can go up and prices can go down. But what I also see are a ton of cards that are holding steady or even still going up in price. Obviously, I can't keep track of everything, but pretty much the rest of the hobby is still showing a lot of strength. Just about everywhere I look, where I know the price history, I'm still seeing everything holding up incredibly well. Correct me if I'm wrong or if you've seen large sections of the hobby going down in price. besides vintage or anything getting reprinted, of course. But otherwise, I'm just seeing strength everywhere. Looking at a few examples, if we look at the Mario Pikachu promo cards from Japan, those cards are still holding very well and up near the highs. I don't know if it's retraced at all, but just looking where I know the price was at the beginning of the year versus where it is now, it is doing very well still. Looking at the Scream promo cards from Japan also, the Pikachu PSA 10, I remember I made a video updating and talking about its retrace and how it pushed down to around $700 a month ago. Well, now it sits well over $1,700 in PSA 10. That's a $1,000 plus move up during this period. Also, the rest of the set is pretty much all up except for the Psyduck, but everything else, the Rowlet, the Mimikyu, and the Eevee, and the Pikachu, of course, have all gone up in price significantly. The Latios PSA 10 team-up card, the last price that I had tracked for it was around $300 in PSA 10. Now it's up to over $400 to $500 each. Even raw versions of that card are selling for over $100 each for a modern set from the Sun and Moon era. And even if we go back to the foundation, if we look back at the base set Charizard in PSA 9, it is still up 500% for the year. Yes, the Charizard is up 5x for 2020. Generations, the set, still going strong. Shining Legends, still going strong. Hidden Fates, reprinted how many times and still going strong. Burning Shadows is up. Cosmic Eclipse booster boxes, even with a reprint rumor on the horizon, supposedly, the booster boxes are still well above $200 each. Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage, two sets that have just came out. They are two most recent releases in the mainline series, and they are still selling well above normal release prices. Shining Fates, we don't even know what's going to be in that set yet, and it's sold out everywhere. Again, guys, I cannot look at everything, but from what I see, pretty much everything else in the hobby is still going strong unless it went through a reprint. Now, I want to be clear again, I am not saying that the bull market is going to keep going, and I can promise you that it will not last forever. The base set retrace, crash, whatever you want to call it, it's a concern, and it is definitely not what I wanted to see. I mean, I have the card. I'd much rather it be worth $5,000 than $1,500 or $2,000. But like I said in my last market analysis video and in this video, that card is not entirely indicative of the market anymore. And if we just put everything in perspective, people were celebrating evolutions going up 3x, and yet 500%, a 5x move for the base set Charizard is somehow a tragedy. Based on what happened for 4 weeks out of the year, the 4-week price movement down, it suddenly becomes a tragedy even though the card went up 5x for the year. Now, we're not sure, of course, if prices are going to hold in this area, and base set is down big from its highs. But now you can see the areas and the price support that I am watching for. But as of now, like I said, the base set Charizard is up 5x for the year 2020, and the rest of the card market is still looking extremely strong right now. Due to the current market dynamics that we are in, there's a lot to watch out for, so unfortunately I can't just say watch this and then we'll magically know what to look out for. So while I'm not concerned that much about the price movements before, I'm definitely more interested now, and I will be watching more closely. This could just be the start of a bear market, or it could just be a little bit of a cooling off period. If this is how bad it ends up being, if this is the worst of it, I would call this a major win. But we'll see what happens, only time is going to tell. And of course, I'll update you if I have time, and I think it's update worthy. But what I have found was while prices on the base set Charizard have pulled back heavily, there were positive signs in the market, and plenty of them. The increase in volume seems to be, so far, supporting my next zone of support. And overall, the Pokemon market appears to still be doing very well in most areas. We have prices holding steady, some cards are still going up in price, and new releases are still in very high demand and selling out instantly. As of now, it's definitely not the doom and gloom that people are making it out to be. But here's the thing I want you guys to know. Investing isn't easy. Buy low, sell high. I have mentioned this a couple of times in my past videos. The goal is to buy low and sell high. And I've tried to remind you guys this multiple times for this reason. Buying low and selling high, it sounds easy, but it's emotional. It's hard to let go when you're in euphoria, and it's hard to buy while everyone else is scared. I can tell you what investing is like. I can tell you what to expect. I can teach you all these rules and these principles and supports and volumes and all this stuff, and you'll get it. You'll understand. But I can't tell you how you're going to feel because everyone reacts differently. And I can't tell you how hard it is to experience a major correction. I can't transfer my investing experience to you. I've seen markets crash. Everyone gets scared, thinks it's the end, and they sell everything at a loss. And then that market or that investment comes back, reaches the all-time high again, and then just blows right past it. Whether we're talking about individual stocks, the stock market, housing, other alternative investments that I'm in, I've seen them all. And for me, this is just very routine. And this is where you'll see the difference between here versus some other places. People without that experience, they get overhyped when things are good, and they get extremely negative when things are not so good. And I'm seeing this all over the place. And what I tried to do for you guys, maybe not successfully, but I tried, is that I tried to be your anchor, and I wanted to be a steady voice for you. I wanted you to help you keep your sense of calm. I could have closed my eyes, told you to invest in any card this year, and I would have been right. But if you noticed, I never capitalized on this bull market to win you guys over. I'm not telling you to just grade all of your cards for easy money or you're going to get rich with this stuff. I'm not here to sell you my cards. I'm not here to be a full-time YouTuber. I mean, this channel doesn't even earn enough to buy a nice microphone. Pokemon is a very small part of my investment portfolio. And what I've always done is I've just tried to present the facts, the history, and my interpretation of it. And that's what I'll continue to do for you. And I hope you take that to heart, and I hope you remember this as you watch my videos in the future, in the good times and the bad times. The real investing and the biggest returns happens when times are tough, because that's when you plant the seeds. And this is why I've stressed to you guys to think long term. And that's why I'm not talking about getting rich or teaching how to flip or to scalp, things like that. Investing isn't easy because it will test you. It will test your fortitude, it will test your ability to make decisions, and it will test your willpower to stick with your plan. I don't know all the answers, and I don't know the future, but I will do my best to guide you along the way. I'm Kakashi with Kanto Capital. Be strong, be resilient, and I'll see you in the next video.